The early stages of awakening often bring not relief, but disorientation. When the mind first stirs from its habitual dream, it expects illumination to be soothing, like sunlight after a long night. Yet what it finds is more like a sudden burst of lightning, revealing everything at once, both the beautiful and the terrible. One begins to see the patterns beneath life's surface, the mechanical repetition of thought, the endless search for meaning. What once seemed normal now feels unbearably transparent. The veil of ignorance that used to cushion experience is gone, and with its removal comes a strange exhaustion, as though the mind has been holding its breath for centuries, and suddenly exhaled all at once. This fatigue is not physical, but existential. It arises because the old self, the one who believed it was separate and in control, begins to dissolve, and something vast takes its place. Yet the human nervous system is not immediately ready for that vastness. The heart expands faster than the personality can adjust. The familiar boundaries of me and you, right and wrong, begin to blur, and without those edges, the mind feels lost at sea. It tries to cling to the shore of certainty, but every wave of insight pulls it further out. So awakening, at first, feels like being uprooted rather than enlightened. The soul aches for stability, while the truth dismantles every illusion that once provided comfort. This is why so many spiritual seekers find themselves weary after moments of clarity. They have touched the infinite, but are still tethered to the finite. It takes time for the nervous system, the emotions, and the everyday mind to find rhythm in this new awareness. The early brightness of awakening must soften before it can truly illuminate. When awareness deepens, it does not filter or choose what to see. It opens the gates to everything. The expanded mind begins to notice that existence is a vast tapestry woven of opposites beauty, intertwined with sorrow, growth bound to decay, love shadowed by loss. This unfiltered vision can be both breathtaking and unbearable. The one who awakens no longer sees only the pleasing aspects of life. They witness the machinery of reality operating without sentiment. The same intelligence that births a rose also devours it. The same silence that feels sacred can also feel indifferent. Such realization shakes the sentimental notions of spirituality and replaces them with an unflinching clarity. For most people, consciousness is selective. We prefer to dwell in joy, to romanticize light, and to dismiss suffering as error. But But when awareness expands, these divisions collapse. Suffering becomes as real and valid as bliss, and one sees that the two cannot exist without each other. This realization often wounds the sensitive heart because it reveals that even pain belongs to the harmony of the whole. The awakening mind begins to perceive patterns behind tragedy, balance within chaos, and purpose within apparent meaninglessness. Yet knowing this intellectually is very different from embodying it emotionally. At first, the mind rebels. It wants to separate the holy from the profane, the divine from the mundane. But deeper awareness insists there is no such boundary. This confrontation with totality, seeing everything as part of one living process, can feel unbearable. The human heart, long trained to cling to comfort, resists the truth that the universe has no favorites. But in time, what once felt harsh begins to feel profound. One learns to bow equally to both joy and sorrow, understanding that they are two breaths of the same eternal rhythm. The true exhaustion on the path of awakening does not come from seeing too much, but from trying to control what is seen. Awareness itself is effortless. It simply witnesses. The strain arises when the mind insists on interpreting, categorizing, or fixing every revelation that consciousness brings forth. When the light of awareness shines upon the hidden corners of the psyche, the ego rushes in, attempting to tidy up, to make sense of the infinite. It tries to manage awakening the same way it manages daily life, through effort, judgment, and control. But consciousness is not a project, it is a flow. The attempt to regulate its movement creates inner friction, and this friction is what becomes fatigue. It is like holding your breath while trying to admire the sky. The very act of striving interrupts the natural rhythm of seeing. The mind becomes tense, the body anxious, the heart restless. This is the paradox. One becomes tired not because of awareness, but because of resistance to it. The more one struggles to grasp truth, the more it slips through the fingers, like water refusing to be held. Enlightenment cannot be possessed. It can only be experienced moment by moment. Many seekers unknowingly turn awakening into another form of ambition. They want to maintain a constant state of clarity to stay enlightened. Yet this constant effort to preserve awareness transforms a gift into a burden. True consciousness does not demand maintenance. It only asks for surrender. When one stops trying to manage perception, the fatigue dissolves. Awareness returns to its natural ease, like a river flowing effortlessly downhill. It was never the light that was heavy. It was the act of trying to hold it. The moment resistance ceases, awakening becomes weightless, vast, and alive again. The exhaustion that often follows awakening doesn't arise from the awareness itself, but from the tension of trying to control it. Consciousness, when left alone, moves like water, fluid, spontaneous, and free. But the ego, conditioned to control and define everything it encounters, cannot tolerate that freedom. It wants to understand, contain, and direct what it experiences. When awareness begins revealing every hidden corner of existence, the mind immediately starts to judge: this is good, this is bad, this should be fixed. And in doing so, it turns what is meant to be a flow into a struggle. That struggle, the resistance to simply letting awareness be, is the true source of fatigue. It's as though the light of understanding has dawned, but instead of basking in it, we squint and shield our eyes, trying to make sense of every ray. Awareness itself is effortless. It does not demand effort to exist. But trying to stay aware, trying to manage every thought and emotion that passes through, drains the spirit. The fatigue comes from effort, the futile attempt to hold still what was never meant to be held. The paradox is that the more one tries to maintain enlightenment, the further it slips away. Awakening cannot be kept, any more than the wind can be bottled. It is an ever-changing movement, a pulse of seeing and being. When we let go of the need to control it, awareness becomes light again, self-sustaining and free of burden. Fatigue vanishes, not because anything changes outside, but because resistance within ceases. The mind finally allows itself to rest in the natural rhythm of consciousness, realizing that awareness was never the problem. It was the trying that made it heavy. Awakening ultimately reveals that there was never a separate self standing apart from the world, watching it unfold. The very sense of being a witness, me looking at life, dissolves into a deeper recognition. There is only life, aware of itself through countless forms. The idea of carrying the weight of the world fades because it becomes clear that there was never anyone to carry it. The waves do not struggle to move the ocean. They are the ocean. In the same way, each of us is not an isolated observer, but an expression of the same vast intelligence that animates stars, rivers, and breath. This realization transforms the feeling of burden into intimacy. What once felt like too much to handle becomes the very rhythm of existence moving through you. The world is no longer something outside to be managed or fixed. It is a living organism of which you are an inseparable part. The heart stops resisting the chaos and beauty of existence because it understands that both are essential notes in the same symphony. Even suffering begins to feel sacred, not because pain is glorified, but because nothing is excluded from the totality of being. In this state, effort becomes unnecessary. Life continues, but the tension of ownership fades. Thoughts arise, emotions flow, choices are made. Yet all of it happens naturally, like wind through the trees. The illusion of being a separate door collapses, leaving only the effortless dance of awareness expressing itself as the moment. When one realizes they are not carrying consciousness, but being carried by it, peace dawns. What was once a spiritual struggle becomes a gentle participation in existence, free of burden, free of division, the simple ease of being life itself.